You're looking for a DJ controller that you can set up, trust night after night, and actually feel good about spending your hard-earned cash on. Not just a shiny spec sheet that sounds impressive until you try to spin a real gig. That hesitation is real. You've probably seen a wall of numbers, a list of FX, and a promise of 4 decks, but you're wondering if any of that will translate into a workflow that feels natural and a machine that won't quit on you mid-set. That's why I'm breaking down the RANE 4 Stems controller the way a DJ who actually lives the daily grind would. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most of us ask is whether the controller actually simplifies the creative process or adds another layer of complexity. The 4 is built around Serato's Stems technology, which isolates instrumental, vocal, bass, and drums tracks on the fly. In practice, that means you can pull the vocal out of a full track and remix it live without having to pre-prepare stems in a DAW. For a club DJ who wants to surprise the crowd with a vocal-only breakdown, or a bedroom producer who's learning to arrange on the fly, that instant access can be a game-changer. It's not just a gimmick. The dedicated stems button sits right next to the jog wheels, so you don't have to dive into menus while the beat's rolling. If you're a performer who relies heavily on traditional 2-deck mixing, you might wonder if you really need 4 channels. The 4's 4-channel mixer gives you independent EQ and volume control for each deck, which is handy when you're layering a drum loop on top of a bass line, while keeping a vocal track on a 3rd deck for a live mashup. In a real-world gig, I've seen DJs use 2 decks for the main tracks and the other 2 for live loops or samples, allowing them to keep the energy moving without stopping to cue a new track. That flexibility is where the value really shows up. You're not just buying extra decks. You're buying the ability to keep a set flowing without a noticeable pause. Now let's talk about the jog wheels. They're 8.5 inches, high resolution, and have a tiny color display that shows BPM and a waveform overview right on the wheel. In a loud club environment, being able to glance at a visual cue without looking at your laptop screen can keep you locked in with the crowd. When I tested them with a 128 BPM house track, the wheels responded instantly, and the display gave a clear visual of where the beat drops, which helped me time a filter sweep perfectly. The display isn't a full-blown screen, but it's enough to keep the essential info front and center. The internal FX suite is another practical point. There are 24 paddle-triggered effects, ranging from classic delays to more experimental glitch tools. Because they're on paddles rather than knobs, you can trigger them on the fly without taking your hands off the decks. In a live setting, I've seen DJs throw in a quick reverb tail right after a vocal drop, and the effect lands cleanly because the paddle is right under the finger's natural resting spot. The downside: the FX aren't as deep as a dedicated effects unit. You can't tweak parameters beyond the preset ranges. If you're a producer who likes to sculpt every curve, you'll find the internal suite a bit limiting. But for most performance-oriented DJs, the built-in options are more than enough to add flair. Connectivity is where the 4 really earns its stripes for professional use. It comes with 2 USB ports, allowing you to plug in a laptop and a backup USB stick simultaneously. I've used this setup at a small festival. My main laptop ran Serato DJ Pro, and the secondary USB held a spare library in case the main drive failed. The controller also includes a switchable phono input, so you can drop a turntable or a CDJ into the mix without needing an external mixer. That kind of flexibility means you can adapt the setup to the venue's gear without buying extra adapters. But there are hidden trade-offs you need to weigh. The 4 is a fairly large unit. It's designed to sit on a sturdy table with enough space for the 4-channel faders, the jog wheels, and the FX paddles. If you're a mobile DJ who travels in a small backpack, you'll need a dedicated case, and the weight adds up. It's not a plug-and-play device you can just toss on a laptop at a coffee shop and call it a day. You also need Serato DJ Pro, which comes bundled with the controller, but you'll still need a valid Serato license to keep using it after the initial year. That's an extra cost to consider if you're on a tight budget. So who should buy the RANE 4 Stems? If you're a DJ who already uses Serato, wants to dive into live stem-based remixing, and values having 4 independent